old anime by the name of Princess Jellyfish, released in 2010, stood out to me like a sore thumb. It was very bright and colorful, and it was gorgeous. Granted, I was young when I watched it all. All I could remember was how pretty it looked, and to a 7-year-old decaf, he would agree with me. Fast forwarding 11 years later, at the height of the pandemic, I stumbled across more works similar to Princess Jellyfish, and sooner than later, I became more interested behind the mangaka of this manga, Akiko Higashimura. But I didn't stop there. Learning from the countless amount of English classes I was forced to take since middle school, I always was taught the idea of being more extensive with my research. So instead of just stopping at who created it, I had to ask myself a question. Why was this created? What motivates an author to create a book, a story, a comic, a memoir? What motivated someone to create this thing that I'm looking at? What motivated someone to create Princess Jellyfish and not something like your typical battle shonen? So I did your standard Google research, put Akiko Higashimura into the Google search bar and scrolled. I browsed through all of her works, but none of it answered my question. What motivates one to write a story that stands out and represents the creator's visions? So I stumbled across a memoir, a story written from personal knowledge, and it was called Black Canvas, My So-Called Artist's Journey, which told the tale of her unorthodox art school upbringing that she underwent as a high school student. It included being trained as a painter and eventually majoring in college with a fine art degree. I read a little bit and I think I found my answer. This memoir explores the many tools used and the hardships experienced by the author in getting down those fundamental skills. I think I found my answer. What motivates an author to write his, her, or their story? A painter to paint. It's passion, the love for doing something. Keep in mind, I said I think I found my answer, but I needed something to back it up. I have to have something to reinforce my statements. I was still hesitant. Was this memoir the only thing that could help me understand the motivation of others, the passion of others? There had to be something else. But I think I found something that would help me. Something much bigger, and you would not believe where I found it. TikTok. Okay, I don't think TikTok is bad like at all because that's where most of my following comes from, but holy shit are the people on this app so dumb. I could make an entire video explaining why TikTok is dumb, but you probably know why. Luckily, the people of TikTok are not entirely useless. They would not stop talking about this one manga so different than what I've read before and what I just mentioned. At the same time, this manga was also getting an anime adaptation in October 2021 called Blue Period by Tsubasa Yamaguchi. At the time of making this video, I already watched the available episodes, but the manga still hits harder. I guess I'm just your typical manga elitist. I can't help it. In simple words, Blue Period is about a high school kid who stumbles upon a new passion, painting, and I was not prepared for the amazing story I would lose myself in. Yataro is a high school student in his second year with superb grades. He is moderately popular even with his pierced ears and circle of friends that often gets labeled as delinquents. Sure, he stays up all night and morning, but he manages to pull off some of the best grades and keep his parents off his back. Putting in the time to study, knowing the correct answers to the teachers when asked questions in his class, saying all the right things to his friends when they're out and about is easy, effortless really. This is his life. It's all simple and he does things for others, but never seems to do anything for himself. But it's his life, right? As people, we kind of have to do that. Sometimes we don't have time to ourselves. We have to do what people tell us to do. But is that the best way to live? Well, one day wandering into the art club's room to retrieve his forgotten cigarettes allows him to stumble upon a painting that stops him in such a quick second, awakening him and setting him on a path that starts off with more upsets than triumphs. Yataro realizes that he wants to try being authentic to himself, as he's just been using all the cheat codes to make everyone else happy and maintain the status quo. Painting quickly becomes a passion to the young beautiful boy, who did not have one before and sets out to pursue it. And isn't that beautiful? To me, it is. If the title Blue Period sounds familiar, well, you're not wrong for thinking that. The blue period is a concept used to define the works produced by Spanish painter Pablo Picasso between 1901 to 1904, when he painted monochromatic paintings in shades of blue and blue-green, only occasionally warmed by other colors. These were mostly a series of somber paintings, with several themes, with one being the desolation of social outsiders, whether they be circus people, beggars, prisoners, or people in a despaired state. In the manga, the opening pages have our MC thinking about Pablo Picasso and just why he's so important to the art world. After reading the first volume, is that our boy gets only just a taste of the desire, of the drive to want to create something, what he sees and feels onto a piece of paper, but maybe even larger, a canvas. There's an ever-present agony that is clear in each chapter, with his self-reflection on talent and art and ability. There are no life hacks for this, no shortcuts, nothing. There's no really easy way out. Empty praise that he's heard all his life means nothing when he feels that the other students in the art club are miles away in front of him in regards to the ability and what they want to do in the future. Blue Period is a work about youth and wanting to challenge yourself, to put yourself in a spot that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. To put it in even more simple words, the story is about defining and redefining who you are when you're finally starting to figure out what drives you to do what you want to do with your life. Boom. I think I found my answer. What motivates someone to create something? Why did the stuff I read, watch, and see exist? I think Blue Period helps me understand that question. Now let's dig a little bit deeper. Navigating what ambition, honesty, and passion looks like, this first chapters and the couple of episodes of Blue Period will immerse you in a roller coaster of emotions. Every time you want to cheer for Yatoro, it's a thrilling ride for him to start to uncover what stirs his soul, as it's also one that constantly reminds him of where he's at in his life, the bottom of the hill, but he's still new. But he has some level of discipline and dedication, but he still has to work on it. The fundamentals, the principles. Like any other student, he has to buy his own art supplies. He still has to work at it, and that's beautiful. He still has to exhaust himself and hold up in his room, wondering if he can even do it. And that, again, is beautiful. It's a character that we can all seem to relate to, and I know that's very basic, but it's true. Think about this. Every time you put effort into something that you love, and you're wondering if you can replicate your idol, if you can replicate the person you admire the most, but you still can't do it. This is what our main character feels like. This story is us. Blue Period is a fascinating story about a young man exploring a new world and wanting more and not being satisfied with the level he's at. Although it's a very educational and it can be a bit of an information overload, it's definitely worth the read, especially towards the end. This manga is very detailed and pokes the holes in expectations, the characters, the readers, and what true talent is, and what it takes to create something with just a lot of passion. I think I found my answer. Passion makes you want to create something.